have you ever used the internet and noticed that people talk some stuff about Skagit heads and some of them are right and some of them are wrong? We're talking about that in this video right now. We're gonna talk about casting distance, how clunky these things are, and some things that you might not even think about. Here we go. That was a horrible cast, but let me tell you why that happened. So I've reached the limits of this Skagit head. I am running the heaviest, So I'm running a heavy, like 7" per second sink tip on here. It's only 5 feet. And I'm also running a really, really heavy fly with dumbbell eyes. I mean, really big dumbbell eyes. It's nasty. It's got a bunch of stuff on it. It's just that we are reaching the limits. Like you can see, I cannot cast this thing and I'm trying everything I can. The only way to truly cast this Skagit head with something this big is with a overhand cast. Ooh, there, that's it. So if you're going to run something really heavy like this, I mean, honestly, there's no point in using a Skagit head unless you do overhand casts. Even at that, it's not fun. So I would just leave this for, you know, your 2-hand rod, something like a 7 or 8 weight, something like that. So we're gonna switch this out and we're gonna put something more appropriate on here. So this right here is 2-inch fly and it has just bead chain eyes on it. So this is more appropriate to cast on a 6-weight if you're gonna be doing, you know, touch and go casts or a sustained anchor cast, that kind of stuff. When it comes to overhand casts, you could do whatever you want, but for this kind of stuff, you're gonna need that. Now I'll just demonstrate how much easier it is to cast with this. I mean, it just shoots right out. You can do touch and go casts like that with it, no problem. You can do sustained anchor casts with it, no problem. You get the gist. Basically what we're trying not to do is overextend the capabilities of your Skagit head, because as soon as you do, I mean, A, it's kind of dangerous to cast, and B, it's not fun. If you can't cast your line out, you're not fishing. Now, I've heard this a few times, that people say that with a Skagit head, you can't really do touch and go casts, and that is so not true. Here we go. That was a snake roll, and that's a touch and go cast. I could do that all day long, and it's fun to do on a Skagit head. So if someone says you can't do single space, you can't do snake rolls, it's too clunky, it's too violent, that's not true. It's just you've got to put some time in. So all I do is I just go slow, just go nice and slow, and there it goes. It goes out just so nicely like that. The moment you start over exerting yourself or just doing stuff that you shouldn't do with this, that's all it is. As long as you just keep pressure and just a nice easy vibe, I mean, what does it matter? It's gonna go out. Everything is so much slower with this type of system because it's so much heavier than like a Scandi head, or I don't know, like a mid-belly or whatever the heck you guys, spay guys, talk about. It's just chilling out, man. It's like a nice, easy groove, and oh, man, I could do that all day. So here's one that we'll talk about quickly, is about casting really far with Skagit heads. Now, I kind of fell victim to this too, because I thought when I first got into it that it was like a distance casting machine, and it is and it isn't. We're gonna do a snake roll and cast 70 feet of snake roll out here. And that's usually what happens. I'm just gonna do another one. And most of the time you get that, like it was all bunched up over here in the guides. So with mono, you can launch far, but the problem with mono is that it has memory, at least the stuff I'm using because it's cheap. And when you do, that was not bad. And when you do, sometimes it gets caught up in the guides, it gets bunched up, so you're gonna have those problems with it. Now, if you really just wanna cast these things like really far, check this out. just overhand cast it. And it'll go out 78, it'll go out like 100 feet without doing much, but just be careful if you're going to be doing that with a heavy sink tip like I have on, it gets a little scary. So I just want to put this out there. When it comes to single hand Skagit casting, really the sweet spot for me is like, yeah, around like 40 feet, and you'll cast them out like that, no problem. And you don't have to do really tight loops. Like that wasn't a tight loop, and you're casting like 50 feet without much of a problem. So this isn't really a casting distance machine, even though it can be if you're gonna do it overhand. But if you're going to do it just with like, you know, the traditional way of doing it, like a double spay, or like even those touch and go, like a snake roller, single spay, those kind of things, then yeah, man, like 50 feet is what you should be thinking about here. There's a downstream poke. Blew my anchor. Can I just say, this casting is super easy, but it's super hard to learn. So when I was learning it, like it was not easy for me to learn. Like I struggled with it. It took me a couple days just to be able to do an everyday double spay. Like this thing right here was like, this was the bane of my existence. I had so much trouble learning how to just do that. It took me a long time to learn how to do this properly, and I'm still finely tuning my casting. I don't feel like it's the best, but I mean, I could fish now and actually catch fish doing it, which is awesome. But these are the things that like will drive you nuts. As soon as you get into a funk with this, you're not getting out of it without just completely slowing everything down and feeling the motions and everything, and just kind of doing those types of loops. Nothing tight, just nice loose loops, man. That's the best way to do it, I've found. So when things get crazy, just like go nice and easy and just kind of flop them out. As long as your leader turns over and everything, it's still a good cast. That leads me to the next thing. Tight loops. You don't have to have tight loops to enjoy this type of fishing. You don't have to have the prettiest loop. In fact, there are fishermen out there, and I'm kind of like sometimes one of these guys, that I find that if you have a really tight, fast loop and it just kind of, you know, shoots on top and it just kind of just goes pow, like that on the water, like go home, man, because they know you're there already. So I'm not that kind of guy. Like if it's going to be some calm water, I'm not the guy to have a really tight loop in those situations. I'd rather, you know, lift up a little bit and parachute it down a little bit more, or I won't use Skagit at all because like it's just a little too violent for the setup. But if I really am fishing sometimes and I want to get that fish and I know he's weary, I'm gonna go like that, just nice and easy, make it slap like maybe 20 feet from where I think the fish is, and then just bring it in. So when it comes to like tight loops, another thing that'll happen is you'll get a lot of like rebound on it. And when you have rebound, then everything just slops down even more into a big ball, and it makes more of a mess on the water. And you don't want that because, well, we're fishing, right? We don't need to have a really tight loop sometimes, guys. Like just lay off and you'll probably catch more fish. All that being said, there are times where you're gonna want that tight loop. If it's windy out, you're gonna want that tight loop. If you're looking to just crank it way out on the other side of the bank, yeah, you need a tight loop for that. But if you're like fishing on like a riffle like this, I'm just telling you, you don't want to have a big splash on the water. And I find with a tight loop, if it like rebounds at all, it's gonna go down like that, and you might as well just go home because you're looking pretty, but you ain't bringing home the bacon. Here's another great example of some stuff that I just had to figure out on my own. Right now, I don't even have all the Skagit head out. I have about half of it out. Sorry, just got a little snagged up there. If you guys know this spot, like just kind of like, don't say it out in the comments, but this here, I had one of the biggest fish of my life on, and I didn't even have half the head out to catch it. It was right here by the rocks. He was hunting for sculpins. I had a sculpin pattern on and freaking whammo. Like literally just violent. When I'm fishing this area, I used to jack it out like that, like around 45 degree, and I would stand way behind the camera, like somewhere over there, and I would cast it all the way over here. And it was just like, what am I doing that for? And then one day I was actually lazy. I didn't want to cast like that. And I only had like half the head out, and I started doing this, exactly like this. I would just do one cast out like this. It didn't even look pretty. It was just like this. And I'm just twitching it and letting it swing. Couple twitches, letting it swing, couple twitches, and so on and so forth. So that's when I realized that even though you have a full, like, I don't know, this is like a 17-foot head here or whatever it is, you don't have to use all of it. Just use what's necessary to catch a fish. To me, this is what Skagit fishing was really all about, was having minimal back cast room. If I had my regular rod with me, I can't cast over here. It's just not gonna happen. But with a Skagit head, I could knock out to the other side of the bank just by simply going like that, and it's out. So if I wanted to hit that bank here, all I gotta do is just keep my anchor a little further out, and I'm hitting the other bank just as easy as that. It doesn't take much. That's what was awesome. Oh, whoa. I just have one on. I'm just talking to the camera doing this. And then he bloody was right there. Did you see the take or no? This little mini sculpin pattern that I came up with is just freaking phenomenal, man. Always works in this area, always. Oh no, uh-oh. Even with the Skagit head, you're gonna have problems. I got caught up. Give me a little bit of time. It's gonna be a doozy. Here's another cool thing, and by the way, I'm using a two-handed rod, but this is a single-handed rod that I converted to a two-handed rod. I put this little guide right here on it. Link is in the description if you want to check that out. Pretty neat little thing. So this is going to go back a little bit on the, when I mentioned about making splashes and everything with like tighter loops and all that. And that's true. Like you're going to make more splashes and stuff if you don't parachute it down nicely or whatever. But one thing, especially if you do have a lot of like recoil on it, but one really cool thing that you can do with these types of heads, if you want it to be more gentle, is to add one of these right here. A polyleader, and this is a long polyleader. This is actually an 8-foot polyleader, and I have I don't know, like 4 feet of line on that. Just some level line. I think it's like 10-pound fluoro on it because this is an intermediate. So it has like this really nice gentle presentation. But the only issue is if you are on more of a you know, like something that's more calm than this and you want to be able to use your Skagit head because you don't have a Scandi head with you. Another thing you could do is you could actually add a floating tip to the end of your Skagit head, then add the polyleader to that. And when you do that, it, hold on a second, let me just get this guy out. Then you have a pretty mellowed out system. And that's basically you're kind of making a bit of like a micro Scandi at that point, which is really, really awesome. And it's actually really effective. And I do that from time to time, just not today because, well, I didn't want to bring the floating tip out, but it is something that you can do and it's pretty easy and it works really well. So that's it for this episode, and hopefully that kind of clears the air on some things that you can do with these Skagit heads, especially on the single hand versions of them. I really like that. And I hope that it kind of demystifies a few things that you might have been hesitant about with a Skagit head. These things are cool. These things are super versatile. You can do a lot with them. Go get you one and go have some fun.